As our law enforcement officers have been assaulted, they've been pelted with rocks and bricks. Their cars have been set on fire. Molotov cocktails have been used. We have seen people throw bottles and hammers at them. We've also seen that they have been attacked and verbally spit on or punched or assaulted, and it's just not acceptable. The Department of Homeland Security and the officers and the agencies and the departments and the military people that are working on this operation will continue to sustain and increase our operations in this city. We are not going away. We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into this city. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this. Also, I want to talk specifically to the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles.
Half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to talk about specifically how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted, and how their families have been put in jeopardy, and that we're not going to allow that anymore as well. That those individuals who are purposely endangering our ICE agents and our law enforcement officers and their families will be prosecuted for what they are doing as far as perpetuating violence on them.
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go, I put behind my back.
All right. Cool. Other hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
Call it what it is, a disgraceful abuse of power. Senator Padilla was handcuffed and dragged out of for daring to ask a question. This wasn't a threat, it's dissent, and they crushed it with force. They're not keeping us safe. They're trying to silence us. We won't back down.
Boy. So we got to talk about another stunt from the Democrats that backfired, right? I don't know what it is about the Democrat Party, but they have absolutely nothing to offer to the American people outside of theatrics, virtue signaling, and these political stunts, right? Because they're powerless, right? They're powerless. They don't have any direction. Only thing they know is Trump derangement, right? And it's just getting worse for the Democrats as they continue to melt down over the fact that President Trump is enforcing federal law against illegal immigrants, right? That's essentially what is happening. And this stunt from Senator Alex Padilla of California is just another a stunt in a lot of stunts from Democrats in order to make it seem like they're fighting on behalf of their constituents, when, again, they're really fighting on behalf of the illegals, okay? This guy, Alex Padilla, thought that it would be a good idea to break into a Department of Homeland Security press conference in which Kristi Noem was in Los Angeles attempting to answer questions about recent ICE operations, right? So she's doing her job, doing a press conference, and this guy barges in demanding that she answer questions on the spot, like he run the place, right? And it's like, that's not how this works at all. Again, clearly this was a political stunt. And of course, the mainstream liberal media is eating this up, right? And the Democrats are boo-hoo-whined and crying. So I'm going to go ahead and show a few clips, a few angles of what happened here, because he was forcibly removed from the press conference and he was handcuffed. However, I do not believe that he was charged. He was not detained. He was just removed and handcuffed. So this video now is a video. Again, this is what Democrats want. They want this imagery. They're now using this in order to boo-hoo, whine, and cry victimhood. Take a look.
Sir, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to
hands up.
How many of our ICE agents have been docked?
On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go, I put behind my back.
All right. Cool. Other hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording allowed out here. I did not know. There's no recording allowed out here per FBI, right? For the building. So what, I'm sorry? There's no recording allowed out here. That's my boss. I have to record everything for us here. You can record. There's no recording allowed. I'm not a member of the press. There's no recording allowed. I understand that's your foot.
Where U.S. Senator Alex Padilla appears to have been shoved out of the room. It's unclear at this point what exactly started the tussle. David, do we know anything more about what may have happened?
What we know is what we're seeing in that footage, Christina. Just to provide a little bit of background, Senator Padilla is a long-standing figure in California, in Southern California politics, has deep roots here, deep roots particularly with Latino communities, immigrant communities in Southern California. He was Secretary of State for a time. Now he's senator, of course, so he is sort of, just politically speaking, understandably a foil for the Trump administration on this issue. And for Kristi Noem specifically, we are trying to find out more information about what exactly happened in that press conference. The audio is kind of muffled. It's not entirely clear what led up to that moment, but clearly it ratchets up the political tension between California's Democratic establishment and the Trump administration as the immigration raids in Southern California and the protests unfold, Christina. These very officials claim to also be opposed to Christina.
And Lisa, I want to go back to you really quickly because we've also seen Democratic lawmakers trying to walk that exact line we were just talking about with David. I hear you have more information on that video we played of Senator Padilla at this Kristi Noem event. There is reporting now that he was, in fact, arrested outside the room.
It appears that he was arrested outside the room, Christina. I am now in possession of video that was taken from a different angle of this same incident. The video you showed earlier shows Senator Padilla being escorted out of the room and quickly ends thereafter. The video that I have seen shows that what happens when he goes into that hallway, he is further pushed into the hallway by somebody wearing an FBI shirt. He is then pushed onto the ground and placed under arrest with his hands behind his back as he is face down on the floor by 3 additional officers. Obviously, we don't have full information about the altercation that led him to be pushed out of the room by personnel either from the Department of Homeland Security or the FBI. But this is yet another escalation between the Department of Homeland Security and those agents working at their disposal and lawmakers. Obviously, LaMonica McIver, a congresswoman from New Jersey, has now been indicted on 3 federal charges for which she could face up to 18 years in prison in an altercation that started not dissimilarly from this. You know, one of the things I was looking for is whether or not Senator Padilla himself put his hands back on those who were involved in that altercation with him, as LaMonica McIver is alleged to have done. And you can see from the video you're showing right now somewhat that Senator Padilla is pushing back or has his hands on the officer. From the video that I have seen, it's much clearer. At some point, he then stops resisting, puts his hands up, and nonetheless, they push him down the hallway, put him face down, his hands behind his back. He's arrested. I don't know yet what has going to come of this and where Senator Padilla has been taken. But this is a big escalation of what has been happening in California. Senator Padilla, as David was mentioning earlier, is a son of California. He grew up in Pacoima in Los Angeles' San Fernando Valley, where I'm also from. Pacoima is a heavily Latino community. Senator Padilla, born to immigrants. He himself is the pride of much of the Latino community in the Los Angeles area. To see him manhandled in this way, like a common everyday protester, is going to be particularly jarring for many who are watching from.
When Senator Padilla gets pushed, shoved, thrown to the handcuffed because he is asking questions, because he is engaging in the very oversight that senators are supposed to engage in, then what we're really talking about here is a Trump administration that just wants to shut down the ordinary functions of government. Look, I do a lot of oversight myself. I ask a lot of questions because that's how it works in a democracy. We use our words to hold people accountable. We don't use our fists. We don't shove. We don't try to knock people down. We use our words. That's what oversight is all about. And that's what I want to go to the floor of the Senate to talk about. I think it is time for every senator, every member of Congress, Democrat or Republican, to stand up and say what Donald Trump has done is wrong.
This, to me, is such an abuse of authority. It is a violent act. And there can be no justification of seeing a senator forced to their knees, laid flat on the ground, their hands twisted behind their back, and being put into restraints. When you see a democratic nation having their executive begin to arrest mayors, begin to arrest judges, begin to arrest a United States senator who is simply asking for answers to their questions, to remove them from a room forcibly, to throw them to the ground, to put them in restraints. This is something that we should not tolerate. And by we, this is not Democrats and Republicans. This is we in this body. We have a constitutional obligation to provide oversight to the executive, a constitutional obligation to ask questions, to make inquiries, a constitutional obligation to check and balance the authority of the executive.
I think all of us are still in some state of shock over the video that we just watched a half an hour ago of one of the most respected leaders in all of the Congress, Alex Padilla, a person of just unquestioned integrity, someone who has brought great compassion for the people of our state and country to the U.S. Senate. To see him abused that way, to see him brought down to the ground, to see him go to a press conference to ask questions, which is not only his right but his obligation, and to be mishandled that way. This is an assault not only on the person of Alex Padilla, but it's an assault on our democracy. This is an administration that has no respect for our democracy, for our institutions, for the separation of powers, for a co-equal branch of government. It has no respect for the people of California. This is a president who would call in military troops against the wishes of our own government.
Yeah. So you see that, you heard that. Okay. Here's the truth. The truth is that Democrats really believe that they're above the law. They believe that they should be allowed to break the law. Like, for example, they believe that a judge should be allowed to help an illegal immigrant evade ICE, right? And that the judge should be held accountable, right? You can't hold a judge accountable for that, right? Democrats believe that a member of Congress should be able to assault an ICE agent on camera. I mean, we have it on video, right? Of her hitting an ICE agent, right? Oh, no, she shouldn't be charged for that, right? She shouldn't be punished for that. Now we have this senator who decided to barge in to a DHS press conference, right? Asking questions. Just barged in. We all saw it on video. And law enforcement that was there, federal law enforcement that was there, FBI, DHS, the agents, they acted appropriately. They don't know who this guy is. I'm a senator. It doesn't matter what you say. They don't know who you are. Some random person just barging in. That, again, it can be anybody. It can be anybody. They can be trying to hurt Kristi, Noem, right? They can be trying to do anything. So they acted immediately and they removed the potential threat. But Democrats were saying, boo-hoo, crying, victim, we're just trying to do oversight. And they think that this bullshit is going to work. It's not. It's not going to work. It ain't going to work on me. It might work on some dummies. But I'm not dumb. Democrats really believe that half the country was born yesterday. They really believe that over half the country has an IQ below room temperature, because you have to have an IQ below room temperature to believe that this senator in this situation somehow, some way is some type of victim and that he was done wrong. When this dude, he ran up into the press conference going straight towards the secretary for the Department of Homeland Security. He's lucky he wasn't shot, right? I mean, let's be honest. He's lucky he wasn't shot, right? I mean, him being arrested, I mean, he got lucky. He lucked out. Because again, he could have been anybody. He could have been any one of these domestic terrorists that we've seen committing acts of violence. Which, by the way, Democrats also believe that they should be able to do that too, right? They should be able to incite violence, which they are doing, right? And, oh, well, we should be able to get away with that too, right? The domestic extremists, they should just be able to get away with committing acts of violence and destroying these cities and being agents of chaos, vandalism. That's what they believe. They believe that they are above the law, the illegals are above the law, and the domestic terrorists who are committing acts of violence on behalf of the illegals are above the law too, right? Everybody on the left side of the aisle is above the law, right? But if you're Trump, if you are a conservative, if you are a Republican, if you're a so-called white supremacist, right? Well, you're not above the law, right? You're not above the law. You must be punished to the fullest extent of the law. They're not going to go soft on their political opponents, right? But they want their political opponents to go soft on them. Ain't it funny how that works? Ain't it hilarious how that works? That's why these people make me sick. They make me sick. Stunt after stunt after stunt after stunt from Democrats. And we're not getting one thing from Democrats that actually makes the lives of the American people better. Nothing from them on that. But we're getting everything from them when it comes to chaos, destruction, violence, domestic terrorism, these virtue signaling stunts that they're pulling off. We're getting all that, right? I've never seen a Democrat fight this hard for an actual American citizen. Has anybody seen Democrats fight this hard for actual American citizens? Never seen it. But they're losing their minds over some illegals, over some slave labor. That's what they're doing. But then they'll tell you, oh, we're not the same Democrat Party from back in the day. We're not the same, right? We're not the same Jim Crow party. We're not the same party of slavery. While they're out here basically fighting for slavery. That's what they're fighting for. Ultimately, that and power and control that's associated with the illegals being in these blue states, right? So, you know, I'm not falling for this. Nobody should fall for this. This was a stunt. This guy found out and he got lucky, right? He's lucky that worse didn't happen, okay? Especially in a situation like that, doing that type of stupid stunt. And, you know, I think he should be charged, to be honest with you. He should be charged because he definitely put his hands on those federal agents. He was pushing back. He was resistant. And he should be held accountable, okay? They should not go soft on these Democrats. If these Democrats want to F around, let them find out. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.